Welcome to LaughNapkin. My name is Frank, and today we'll be looking at the subreddit r/Idontworkherelady, specifically stories from the greatest place on earth, Disney World and Disneyland. I've personally been to both Disney World and Disneyland, and I can say that they really are a great place. But when it comes to dealing with entitled people that insist you work there, it can make any great place not so great, at least for that moment. Have you ever been to Disneyland or Disney World? Tell me about your experience in the comment section below. Now let's get into the stories. Lady thinks I work at Disney because I was trading pins with my daughter. So my family is very fortunate to live very close to Disney World. Every year when they have Florida resident 4-day passes, we go. This year, my daughter and I decided to try pin trading. Our first day, we stopped outside the entrance to Disney to use the bathroom. I waited outside with my two daughters, 3 years and 6 months, and decided to practice how to do pin trading with my 3-year-old while we waited for my husband to come out. Let me also say, I looked nothing how the cast members at Disney looked. I had a Winnie the Pooh tank top on, black shorts, a Disney lanyard with pins, and on my back I had an Ida bag full of pins I didn't plan on trading. I also had 2 strollers in front of me. No one should have mistook me for a cast member. After doing some mock trading with my daughter, a little boy, probably around 8, asked to look at my pins. I showed him the ones on my lanyard since I keep all my pins I want to trade on there. He didn't seem to be interested in the pins on my lanyard, but soon noticed my Ida bag. Boy, can I see those pins? Sure, but I don't want to trade these. I show him the pins on my bag and say again how I don't want to trade those. He soon spots a Nightmare Before Christmas pin that's actually my husband's. My attempt to try to get him into pin trading too. Boy, I want this one. I'm sorry, that one isn't mine to trade. You can pick any of these. I motioned to my lanyard while trying to now keep my 3-year-old from running off into the park. I soon noticed the kid's mom coming towards me. I was a little relieved, hoping she would pull him away from me. Mom, oh, are you trading? How fun. Mom, I want that one and she won't trade with me. Well, she has to. It's Disney's rules. At this point, my anxiety had taken over. At Disney, the cast members have to trade their pins with anyone who asks to trade. Other guests do not. I sighed, trying to calm myself down. Me. The cast members have to trade, but I do not. He can trade one with the ones on my lanyard, but my bag holds the pins I don't want to trade. Mom. You're not an exception to the rule. Trade with my son or I'm going to report you to your manager. Do you seriously think I'm a cast member? You were just trading with that little girl, so it's obvious you are. I was just practicing trading with my daughter. Wait right there. I'm going to get your manager and we'll settle all this out. I didn't say anything. I was so dumbfounded. I'm here struggling with a 3-year-old and a baby and she thinks I'm working? All I could think is maybe she didn't actually think that. Maybe she was just trying to manipulate me to trade with her son. I don't know. My husband came out of the bathroom before she came back. I wasn't going to sit there waiting for her. Luckily, Disney is big enough that I didn't see her for the rest of the day. I'm still so confused, but at least it didn't get violent, and I was able to enjoy the rest of my day without anyone else thinking I was working there. I Don't Work Here Lady, Disneyland Edition. I just stumbled across this sub a couple days ago and have a story for you all. So me and my girlfriend took a trip to Disneyland in Paris a few years ago as our first holiday together. We were having an awesome time in the parks, etc. But one day was incredibly busy, so we decided instead of queuing hours for rides, we would do some souvenir shopping instead for a bit. We were in a store in Disneyland browsing various mugs, fridge magnets, plush toys, you know, the general overpriced stuff, when a very sweet English woman asked me if I could help her across the store as I'm a tall guy, 6'4". And I said, yeah, that's fine. I get it at home in the supermarkets all the time, so no biggie. Turns out her daughter wanted a specific Winnie the Pooh toy that was at the top of a huge pile of plushes. I gladly grabbed it down for her and gave it to the little girl who was over the moon. This is where things got strange. A fairly young French lady moved over to me, chatting in French and gesturing at a shelf with some glasses on it. I speak a tiny bit of French, but definitely not enough to know what she wanted, so I politely told her I speak English and I'm not an employee. I was wearing jeans and a wine-colored hoodie, which is not even remotely close to a Disney cast member's uniform. The French lady stormed off, and I thought that was that. I went and found my girlfriend, and we were looking at some gift ideas for our families. when from right behind me I heard a woman say, "This is him," in English but with a French accent. I turned around to see the aforementioned French lady, who had dragged an actual employee over to give me a scolding. Her accent was very heavy, but she said something along the lines of, "He helped someone, but not me. Workers should be trained better." The actual employee immediately could see that I was a guest at the park, apologized, and led the woman away. All we could hear from the other side of the store was the French lady shouting and getting very irate. I assumed she was removed from the store. Anyway, me and my girlfriend took a couple of Minnie and Mickey Mouse mugs to the register to pay for, and the employee who sorted out the situation was on the next register. She said, "Please wait there." She toddled off and came back a few minutes later with a stuffed Luke Skywalker Mickey Mouse and a stuffed Princess Leia Minnie Mouse for my girlfriend. "These are for you as a way of an apology," she said. "It's not necessary, it was just a misunderstanding," I said, but she insisted. So we got some pretty cool free souvenirs. Thanks, angry French lady. Yup, you caught me. I don't work at Disney World. For a while in my 20s, I decided to spend my money and free time at Disney World. While I was happy to go with friends, I just as often went alone, usually when I was in town for conferences. Since I don't want to kill my phone battery playing games in line, I'd occasionally strike up conversations with people nearby. My "I don't work here lady" moment occurred during one of those trips. I'm in line for the Haunted Mansion, the best, behind a dad and his daughter. I forgot how our conversation started, but I ended up sharing some trivia about the ride and telling them to follow me when we got inside. I knew where to stand to get them on the ride sooner. The dad was impressed. "Dad, you know so much about this ride. Do you work here?" "No, sir, this is just my favorite and I've learned a few things in my frequent travels." "No, you know too much. I bet you work here." I wish I did, but sadly I don't. The dad is now eager to catch me in my secret employment. He says, "Where are the nearest restrooms?" Me, amused but annoyed, "I really don't know. I promise I don't work here." "Okay, where's the Haunted Mansion?" I point with one finger to the building ahead of us. "Ha! You don't work here!" Disney cast members point with two fingers because some cultures feel pointing with one finger is rude. Me with my eyes rolling out of my skull. "Yup, you got me. I don't work here." He was so pleased with this gotcha moment, I think he forgot that seconds earlier he was convinced I was a cast member. "I tried to tell you, dude, but okay." I never did work in showbiz. My mother took me to Disney World for my birthday when I turned 10. I put on my best pretty pink party dress, bright lime green tights, and Mary Janes that I should never have worn for walking in a theme park all day. I braided my hair in a really fancy to a 10-year-old French braid crown type thing. I even got to put on some makeup. I felt gorgeous. We went to this restaurant in Tomorrowland that I don't remember the name of that had a stage that raised up from the floor with performers on it and then sunk back into the floor when they were done. It was pretty cool, and the performers were the Kids of the Kingdom or some such group in the vicinity of my age who sang cheesy pop songs. A show was starting when we got there, and my mother told me to grab a table while she went to the counter to buy our lunch. A huge treat for me because we never ate out, but it was my birthday. I was having chicken fingers and french fries in a restaurant where a show was happening. We didn't have much back then, so this whole day was a huge treat. As it was lunch at a busy time of the year, the place was a mob scene. I didn't think much of it that my mother was in line for the whole length of the set. When it finished, I decided to go and see what's up because I never gotten a table anyway. As I headed over, this woman grabbed my arm and physically dragged me over to her table. She started blathering me about how her kids loved the performance, how great I was, and how they want my autograph. She shoved a book and pen at me. I tried to explain I wasn't one of the performers and squirm away, but she had a very firm grip on my arm. As she realized I wasn't signing, she started screaming at me and berating me for not treating my fans well and screeching at some poor actual employee with a broom dustpan that she wanted a manager immediately. Now, the kids in the show took the elevator staged thing to the basement. They didn't even exit into the crowd, but I guess I was dressed a lot like they were. Still, there's no excuse for any of this, and I'd become very scared. So I screamed, "This is not my mommy!" as I was taught. She yelled at the coworker that I was just being a spoiled brat and screamed something about how I'd never worked in the showbiz with my attitude. That part might have been later. It's all a scary blur. Entitled mom yelled at her own kid to get up and started dragging me up to the counter window, which I allowed to happen fairly meekly, thinking my mother was there. She was not. She'd gone to a different place that wasn't out of my precious chicken fingers. This is where there were continued screamed demands for a manager because the entertainment was being unprofessional and her daughter wanted an autograph. My arm felt like a bruise was developing, and it did, and it was ugly, and her kid looked mortified. Unable to spot my mother, I pretended to faint by closing my eyes and going totally limp. She was gripping me so hard that I didn't even fall. Then she started trying to pull totally limp me up to standing. That hurt. Another customer jumped in who was an EMT/nurse/sane human and took over loudly and authoritatively, declaring I needed medical attention. A bunch of staff came running out and pried me away from Kung Fu grip woman. I had a miraculous recovery once freed, and again explained that she was not my mother, I was not one of the performers, and I wanted my real mommy. From there, I told my tale several times and got fed cookies at guest services while waiting for my mother to show up. They gave us a voucher and reservation for lunch at a fancy buffet place since my chicken finger and fries were long lost to the chaos. Over the years, my mother variously claimed that they did and didn't kick Miss Yelling Place out of the park. Shrug. I wasn't there for the conversations and the whole thing was a very scary blur. Lesson learned. If somebody asks you for an autograph, just scrawl something illegible, say thanks and keep walking. They'd never known I can't hold a tune in a bucket. Hey, you made it to the end. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up as it helps me out big time. Also, if you're new here, subscribe for daily videos. See you in the next one.